Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album Rewind, the show we're doing each and every day here in the month of June in 2021 to take a look at some of those classic albums by classic bands that maybe get overshadowed just a little bit by the big brother or the big sister that came right before it. All right. So again, we're not saying that these albums are inferior in any way. But when you look at kind of like a combination of things like sales and longevity and kind of like general consensus about from most people, they usually talk about or look at the album that came before these as the kind of, the more notable one. But what we're doing with this show is we're giving some love to these follow-ups that we feel are, if not as strong, pretty damn close to it, right? Very, very notable and still a classic, right? That's the whole thing. They got to be a classic. Today, we're going to take a look at an album released January 11th, 1971 on Columbia Records, recorded at Columbia 30th Street Studios in New York City, produced by James William Guercio. Of course, we're talking about Chicago 3. All right, Chicago 3, killer album. Of course, another double album follows two double albums. The first Chicago Transit Authority album, as well as the self-titled Chicago, or what we normally call Chicago 2. All these double albums, Chicago 3, no exception. So let's take a look. So, of course, this is the classic Chicago lineup. All right. Peter Cetera on bass, lead and backing vocals. Terry Kath, guitar, lead and backing vocals. Robert Lamb, keyboards, lead and backing vocals. Lee Lugane on trumpet. James Pankow on trombone. Walter Parazater on sax and flute. And, of course, Danny Serafin on drums and percussion. This is the, this is the classic lineup of Chicago. This is the original lineup of Chicago. Still the best. The band at this point were still very much a kind of jazz rock ensemble, all right, little bits of blues, certainly little bits of prog and psychedelia in their music, but just this collision of jazz influences and rock influences, what we normally would call jazz fusion, except of course they had vocals. But what's great about this album, and to me this is in kind of re-listening to this again, of course I've had this for many years. I've been a big fan of Chicago for decades. But in revisiting Chicago 3, which is not, when I look at the career of this band, and specifically like those 70s albums, throughout my life, I have tended to not give this one, I think, its fair due. And I think in re-listening to this album over the last couple days in preparation of doing this today, this pretty much is the precursor to the 7th album, Chicago 7. Which is very much at least two sides of that double album, very much in that kind of experimental jazz fusion mode. That all kind of started here. I know they did a lot of it on the first two albums, but here is where you get a lot of those extended instrumental pieces, which I think work really, really well. And though this was a really high charting album, and a big seller for the band, I think one of the reasons why it gets a little overlooked when talking about, this or a couple of the ones that came after, or certainly the first album, is this is more about those extended instrumental pieces and long form pieces, and not as much about those singles, right? Because they become a big singles band afterwards, but they still had some very notable songs from the first two albums that got radio play. This is more of a kind of more of a grower album, more of a you're not listening to this for specific songs, but more for kind of like these sidelong epics and pieces, right? I mean, these are great well constructed songs that allow the entire band to shine, and it's more about kind of setting moods and musical ideas than just let's throw out a cool, pop or jazzy song that's going to get played on the radio, right? Starts off with a killer song, and I think a song that probably doesn't get enough credit for the greatness that it is, written by Robert Lamb, Sing a Mean Tune Kid. Just nearly 10 minutes long, sung by Peter Cetera, good rock song, a lot of great Terry Kath guitars, great vocals from Peter Cetera. The song has groove. The horn section is killer. The rhythms are killer. Just a really good, funky rock song, and bordering on hard rock at times. Excellent, excellent track to kick off the album. Then, second song, side one, Loneliness is Just a Word. I mean, just some amazing horns on this album. And, if you read up on the creation of this album, it's like the band, spending a lot of time on the road, really had to kind of sit down and put together some new songs for this album and really get creative with the writing, because this is not an album filled with songs that were kind of put together while they were touring and whatnot. They actually had to sit down and really, go to the well and come up with some new stuff. And I think it works for that reason, okay, because it sounds new and fresh. What else can I say? Peter Cetera track comes up, another really cool tune, kind of a little funky, kind of, it's almost got a little country flavor to it as well. It's kind of neat. You got these little kind of like pedal steel things and slide guitar stuff, and it's just kind of like I got it like a rootsy feel, but again, it's got that nice groove to it, and really nice vocal from Peter Cetera. Then you've got the Terry Kath, Robert Lamb track, I Don't Want Your Money, which is this real gutsy, bluesy, overdriven guitar, fuzz guitar track with some really, it's Robert Lamb singing, but it almost doesn't sound like him. He's trying to sound like an old bluesman, and just Terry Kath just absolutely smoldering on the guitar with a killer guitar solo. Just, man, this is really good guitar playing. I mean, this album for me is very, very notable for Kath's guitar playing, the wonderful horns, and some great drums from Danny throughout the whole album. So, I Don't Want Your Money, another killer song. That's side one. Side two, you've got the 22-minute Travel Suite, all right, which is part instrumental, part with vocals. Like I said, it's about 22 minutes long. It's made up of six sections. Okay, you got Flight 602, which kicks it off, which got a little bit of vocals on it. Then you got Motorboat to Mars, which has a Danny Seraphine drum solo. It's pretty brief. Then you got, Free, of course, great Terry Kath vocal. Free is a drive-in rocker. I just want to be free. Great rhythm guitars on that. Just a really kick-ass, fast-paced song. Then you've got Free Country. All right. Nice little jazzy, jazz fusion instrumental written by most of the guys in the band. Really, really cool song. Again, great horns in that. And then it finishes off with At the Sunrise and Happy 'Cause I'm Going Home, both written by Robert Lamb, okay, sung by Cetera and Lamb together. Both those put together make up the back like almost 10 minutes of this track. Excellent. Excellent. The whole Travel Suite is really, really well done. Again, it takes you on a journey, right? It's got these nice, mellow, jazzy parts, little, bits of, you got flutes and, the trombone and stuff, and then, driving rock sections. Killer stuff. From there, we go into side three. All right, kicking off, you got the cool, funky rock piece Mother, written and sung by Robert Lamb. From there, you got Lowdown, another Cetera track. Excellent stuff. Catchy, jazzy, jazz, pop, and rock all collide in there. Wonderful stuff. And then another kind of extended piece. It's not that long. It's maybe, about 10 minutes long. An Hour in the Shower. It's not really an hour. Written by Terry Kath. And excellent stuff. It's a mix of vocal sections. I think there's, 5 sections in An Hour in the Shower. Mix of vocals, a mix of instrumentals. And it's just kind of like, an hour in the shower. It's kind of like Terry talking about, and again, he wasn't working a regular day job at the time, but just thinking about a guy who gets up, ready to go to work every day, and just basically like how hard it is to get out of bed. Let's take a little longer in the shower so we can put off actually having to go to work. And so it's, a hard rising morning without breakfast, off to work, falling out, dreaming home, and morning blues again. Right? So it's kind of that whole, like, we do this every day over and over and over and over and over again. And it's got these little, minute, 30 seconds, starts off, 5 minutes and change. And then it kind of, all the little pieces put together. Really good stuff. And again, mixed of like vocal and instrumental bits. Kind of like most of the epics on this album. And then over on side 4, you've got, for the most part, all instrumental, 15 minutes and change, Elegy. All right, so here it's another 6-part epic. This could be the strongest epic length piece on the album. Most of it put together by James Pankow. All right. When All Laughter Dies in Sorrow starts things off. It's got a Robert Lamb kind of spoken word type of intro there. And then you go into Canon, Once Upon a Time, Progress, The Approaching Storm, and Man vs. Man, The End. Again, lovely instrumental sections on here. This is a tour de force for the horn section. Of course, written by Pankow, you would assume that. Got some nice jazzy guitar solos from Terry Kath kind of nestled in here as well. But for the most part, this epic length track is all about the horns and the jazz fusion coming to the forefront, and some killer bass and drum rhythms from Cetera and Danny Serafin. So a really, really cool song. And once again, for me, this album goes hand in hand with Chicago 7, which wouldn't come for another couple of years. I think they go so well together, and I think both albums, when you talk to people and they talk about their favorite Chicago albums from the 70s, I think these two albums tend to get not discussed as much because there are so many long-form jazz pieces on them. But I think that the jazz fusion fans, we really appreciate these albums because they are the way they are, right? They are really different. And I think that they're great for those reasons. And there's some really cool albums in the discography of this band from this time period. So there you have it. Lots of material. Double album. A really, really good one, and I think if you are someone who's maybe only more familiar with all the hits from Chicago from the 70s, and you like jazz fusion and certainly progressive rock and things like that, there's a lot of really cool, adventurous material on this album that I think is well worth your time and attention. So please check out this album, Chicago 3. It's our classic album rewind today. It actually is a great companion to this one. This one's probably equally as adventurous, but there's more of an accessible nature to Chicago 2. And certainly the first Chicago album, Chicago Transit Authority, or that's a totally different affair. That's a lot of fury on that album, and a lot of, that is a very guitar-centric album for the most part. And I think that the band really kind of started exploring all the different avenues they could go in starting on the second album, and of course, certainly even more so on the third album. And then they would do it again on the seventh album after they had a couple of releases in between, which, started to show them writing shorter songs, more commercial radio airplay and all that sort of thing. But great stuff nonetheless. So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Stay tuned each and every day for another edition of Classic Album Rewind throughout this month of June and upcoming programming. So tonight we've got In the Prague Seat. All right, we got Team B and myself taking a look at some of our favorite Prague DVDs/Blu-ray concerts. All right, so we're going into our archives and picking out some of the coolest, now that live music is starting to open up here in the world. COVID restrictions are kind of dying down a little bit. We can probably go out and enjoy some live music hopefully this summer, but to kind of bridge the gap to that, we're each going to pick our 5 favorite Prague concert DVDs that we have in our collections as recommendations to you guys. So that's tonight. Stay tuned for that. We've got tomorrow is a new album review today here on the channel. So I've got the new Big Big Train, the new Styx, the new Nad Sylvan, maybe a couple other things. I think that's really all I have on my agenda for tomorrow. So we got 3 of them. Hopefully I can get to all of those. So stay tuned for that. Then Thursday, of course, the Monsters Den. Chris Allo, Rich Catino, and myself will be ranking our favorite 5 David Cronenberg horror classics. So stay tuned for that as well. And Friday morning at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff, part 2 of First In, Last Out, our look at some notable bands with their first albums and their last albums. Again, these are bands that are no longer making albums. Their first album and their last albums, kind of how they compare, how different they are, how similar they are, that sort of thing. So that's coming up on Friday. And then we've got all sorts of fun stuff happening this weekend. We've got ranking the top 5 albums of Billy Cobham. Billy Cobham, drummer extraordinaire. We've got Andy Edwards, we've got George LeMay, and Sean Toner and myself. We're going to be ranking our top 5 Billy Cobham solo albums each. So stay tuned for that as well. We're trying to get to it. I hope we can get to it this weekend. I'm going to spill the beans. So we're trying desperately to squeeze in the Survivor ranking the album show this weekend. So this is myself and my two good friends from the UK, Simon Bray and Stephen Reed. So we're trying to get that scheduled this weekend. Hopefully we can. If not, it'll be a couple weeks, but it is on the agenda. And what else am I forgetting? That might be everything. I don't know. There might be another thing or two here that I'm forgetting. But, of course, Classic Album Rewind each and every day. There's more ranking the album shows coming. I got a whole bunch in the to-do list, so that those will be coming out. Like I said, I think we're going to start doing those that's going to be like an every Saturday or Sunday type of thing. So this way they play on, even if I do a couple a week, they'll be airing on a specific day. Just like everything else we have. Hudson Valley Squares on Monday and the Prague Scene on Tuesday. What's Hot with Sea of Tranquilities on Wednesday. Thursday is Monsters Den. Friday at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff on Friday. And then either Saturday or Sunday will be the Ranking the Album show. So there you have it. We're waiting to reschedule the two shows I was going to do with Lynn Versace. Of course, that is ranking the albums of Steve Morse Band and top 10 songs of ABBA. And then working on getting the Steve Lukather interview rescheduled as well. So that hopefully I'll make an announcement on that sometime soon. I had the opportunity to talk to Steve for like 5 minutes, and then he had a very important phone call come in, so we had to cut it short. So we're going to redo the whole thing. So that's coming up in the not too distant future. So stay tuned for that, and a lot more here on the channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our videos. You got to do that, guys. I get so many people like, oh, I didn't know this show was on, or when are you doing this? And click that notification bell so that if we do a live show or a premiere stream or whatever, you'll know it ahead of time, all right? And so you don't be surprised and you don't miss out on stuff. If you want to make a channel donation, we've got the link to our Ko-Fi page below, as well as a link to our merch page. We are working on a couple of new t-shirt designs that have our favorite slogans on. There's 2 of them, so we're working on one for we're on YouTube all the damn time, as well as Chris Allo's I Got the Old. So those are in the works. So we'll have them as soon as they're ready to go. We'll have them on the merch page. So stay tuned for more on that. And I'm also hoping to do another kind of live kind of Q&A type of show coming up soon. So I'll let you guys know when that's going to happen. So thanks for watching. I am Pete Pardo. See you real soon. Bye-bye.